My apologies, everyone. Okay. All right, so I am calling to order our public hearing and special governing board meeting for the Cartwright Elementary School District Governing Board for July 14th, 2021. Let the record reflect that this meeting has begun at 5:03 p.m. It is now called to order. Let the record reflect that we do have participants meeting via the Zoom application. And this is our public hearing proposed 2021-2022 Truth in Taxation and Annual Expenditure Budget. So let the record reflect that we do have Governing Board Vice President Denise Garcia participating via Zoom. We have Governing Board Member Ana Abetia also participating via Zoom. We have Governing Board Member Pedro Lopez participating via Zoom. Governing Board Member Lydia Hernandez is also participating via Zoom, and I, President Hernandez, am also participating via Zoom platform. And although members of the board are not gathered in a central physical location, we do have a quorum in attendance at this public hearing, special governing board meeting of July 14th, 2021. We are meeting by use of Zoom and streaming via the Cartwright School District YouTube channel. I ask that everyone participating in the meeting please identify yourselves when speaking and keep your microphone on mute when not speaking in order to cut down on any background noise. Thank you. Now, if everyone would please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands.
One nation, under
Darn
God,
it. I'm too nervous. This happened to me at the first Zoom meeting as well.
for all.
Governing Board Member Garcia, can you recite the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
By myself? Yes, okay.
Yes, please.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia.
Amen.
Apologies, everyone. It just seemed really short. All right. So I would like to make a motion for approval of tonight's agenda as presented at the Cartwright Elementary School District Governing Board Public Hearing, Special Governing Board Meeting of July 14th, 2021. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. All right, so we have a motion made by myself, Marissa Hernandez, and a second by Vice President Denise Garcia. We will go ahead and do a roll call vote. Ms. Garcia, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Oh, I finally got my volume up. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Governing Board Member Abetia, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you, Ms. Abetia. Governing Board Member Pedro Lopez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. And Governing Board Member Ms. Lydia Hernandez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Hernandez. I vote aye as well, and the motion carries unanimously. I do apologize for the first portion of the meeting. My volume, I couldn't get my volume up, and so it was really difficult to hear. All right, so our item Item 4 is our presentation, the 2021-2022 adopted budget. Ms. Farrar?
Good evening, Governing Board members, President Hernandez, Dr. Aguilar-Lawler, members of the executive team, and everyone watching in attendance, good evening. Per legislative and statutory requirements, we are required to hold a public session to go over the adopted budget every year. This document presentation was prepared in accordance with those requirements. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Gary Holland, our Director of Business Services. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, President Hernandez, members of the governing board, Dr. Aguilar-Lawler, members of the executive team, and all of our listeners online. Tonight, I have a short budget presentation for you, asking you to adopt and consider our FY22 proposed budget for the new year. Next page. So there are multiple things that have to be taken into consideration when you're looking and preparing a budget. First, you start looking, is there possible any additional funding that may be out there and be available? You look at your enrollment, so what are we projecting for next year? We look at our maintenance and operational needs as well as capital needs. And then we also look at other funding sources like our classroom site fund or any grants or special funds that may become available. Next slide, please. Next, we have budget factors that we have to take into consideration. So first, let's look at our external factors. So as I mentioned, we look at what we are projecting for student enrollment for next year. We look at our compliance requirements for Arizona State Retirement System. Those rates continue to increase each year. Also, we have the Affordable Care Act, Social Security, and Medicaid increases as well. Plus, as we know, medical and life insurance tends to increase every single year. We look at other economic factors. So do we have any growth in our area? The rising fuel costs as well as unemployment. For our internal factors, we're always looking to see if it's possible to provide a wage increase for our staff. What are our staffing standards that we need to meet to provide the best support for our students? As well as what are the priorities or initiatives planned for next year? Our facilities, what are those maintenance and operation needs as well? Next slide, please. So the state funds provides funding, a base support level funding per ADM, so average daily membership. So in FY21, our base support level was $4,390.65. The state provided $54.88 towards teacher compensation, which provides a new base support level of $4,445.53 for the FY22 school year. Next slide, please. So let's first look, as I mentioned, projecting enrollment. So our average daily membership, as you can see, from 17 all the way down, has had a steady decline. So in 17, you had 16,977. 18, you had 16,426. In 19, we had a big drop down to 14,985. Again, 14,824 in 20. And last year in 21, 14,210. And because of that steady decline, we are projecting for flat enrollment for next year. Hopefully that we'll be able to maintain that going forward. Because if that does continue to drop, that does affect our budget, which means our budget will have to be revised and go down. Next slide, please. So let's start with our maintenance and operation fund, or that budget. That, of course, is our largest budget. That budget for next year is projected to be a little over $103 million. That budget includes a little over $12.6 million for our override, a little over $4.6 million for our desegregation funding, $986,000 for our K-3 reading, and estimated $959,000 for Prop 123 funding. These funds, of course, will be used to help continue implementation of our certified step schedule, as well as auxiliary and educational support for professional raises or other needs that come available. Next slide, please. So how exactly does that kind of break down? So let's start with regular education. So we have budgeted a little over $45.5 million for instruction, a little over $2 million for student support, a little over $3.7 for instructional support, school administration, a little over 8.2, maintenance and operation of plant, a little over 13.4 million, as well as non-instructional services, 113,000, and co-curricular and athletic activities a little over $74,000 each. Next, let's look at our special education category. So in that particular area, we have budgeted for a little over $7.9 million for instruction, a little over $5 million for student support services, and a little over $746,000 for instruction for student support. For transportation, we've budgeted a little over $3.7 million. Next slide, please. Next, let's look at our capital funding. So that funding, again, all of this is based off of projected enrollment. So that funding, we have budgeted a little over $171,000 for instruction, a little over $315,000 for student support and instruction. We had a little over $1 million for operation of plant and a little over $2.7 million for construction. One thing I wanted to just point out is please keep in mind that we do have other money budgeted for our school's capital needs out of our bond funding and our ESSER funding. Next slide, please. Next, let's look at our classroom site fund. So for FY22, the legislature allocated $733 per student. However, $192 of that is expected to be one-time funding. How those funds will be broken down: for Fund 11 or base salary, 20% of that. For performance pay, 40%. And for Fund 13, which is multiple different areas, a little over 40%. So that fund is estimated to be a little over $19.3 million for next school year. Next slide, please. We also look at some of our other grants or other funding that may be available. So for our indirect cost fund, we have budgeted a little over $8.8 million. Our food service, a little over $21 million. Our federal projects, including all of our ESSER funding, a little over $89.5 million. State projects at $4.3 million. Auxiliary operations at $543,000. Tax credit at $502,000. Our Medicaid reimbursement, we're estimating a little over $2.9 million. And our plant, insurance, and gifts and donations, a little over $8.3 million. Next slide, please. So if you recall, when we started this presentation to propose this budget back on June the 30th. The legislature at that time had not closed session and had an adopted budget. They did not close session until 5 o'clock right after we started this presentation. In that though, and because it was not finalized at the time we proposed, as Victoria mentioned, we are required by statute to revise this budget by September 15th of this year, because we'll now have final numbers as to any additional funding increases that may be available. So a couple of areas where they did some increases. So there's increase in support level for our special education program areas. So our group B weights. This is in addition to your regular group A weight, which is your regular education. So with group B weights, you'll notice the first one is MDSC, which is multiple disabilities self-contained. A-C is autism self-contained. SID is severe intellectual disability self-contained. That support weight went from 5.833 up to 5.988. Next area was developmental disability. ED is emotional disability, and MIID is mild intellectual disability. That rate changed from 0.003 to 0.093. One of the things that I want to point out is for everyone who may not know, the Group B funding has not changed for several years. So being able to at least get 2 of these increased for this year was a great achievement, because it's been in the process for years and years. The last time a special education cost study was done for Arizona was in 2007, and that was conducted by the Arizona Department of Education. So that funding has not changed since that time. Now they've also added a new weight for our gifted pupils. That Group B weight is 0.007. And because of budget cuts back in 2008 and 9, funding for gifted pupils has been cut and then eliminated. So it's nice that that funding is going to be starting to become available once again. Next slide, please. So we have some additional budget factors that we have to take into consideration. So we have open enrollment that we have to post on our website, which is a requirement. We have a mitigation plan and safe return to schools that we must post. We have our bans for critical race theory and subjects for teachers and districts would be subjected to fines for any violation. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, it was a short presentation. I hope that I was able to answer most of your questions. If not, please let me know. I'll be happy to answer them at this time.
Thank you, Gary.
No problem. Thank you.
President Hernandez, you're on mute. There you go.
Man, this Zoom is harder than it looks. I apologize. Victoria, did you want to say something?
Yes, ma'am. President Hernandez, members of the governing board, Dr. Aguilar-Lawler, members of the executive team, and everyone watching in attendance. I just wanted to make a couple comments. I attended the ASBA legislative wrap-up webinar that was held this afternoon, or early morning today, and all of the items that were put in the budget package are effective July 1st, but all of the items that were part of the regular bills that did not contain an emergency clause are effective September 30th. So in case anybody, is asking questions about, what might be effective and what's the effective date for this. So since, the budget package didn't pass until after the fiscal year started, since that does have an emergency clause, all of this is effective retroactively. So that's a good thing, because all those increases that Gary spoke to on slide 6, that does go all the way back to the beginning of the year, but we do have to revise the budget no later than September 15th and then submit it to ADE no later than September 16th. So that's good news. And I also want to highlight that on slide 5, regarding the ADM, that was the chart that showed the ADM decline. I know I have mentioned it before at different board meetings, but we have, we have a specific position, a student recruitment position, to do that person's responsibility is to make sure that we're providing the best customer service to recruit our kids back. Because we know you can have the flashy buildings and the flashiest clothes or whatever the case may be, but we know that we provide a much better educational model format, and we're much more compassionate and flexible with our families. So that position's really driving a lot of what we hope to be increases in our enrollment based on getting our own kids back. Because we have about 8,000 students at charter schools that live within our boundaries, but that are elsewhere. So think about what we could do if we got all those 8,000 back, or a portion of the $8,000, 8,000 students back. So that's a really good thing. And I just wanted to make sure I mentioned. On slide number 6, the K-3 reading, that's part of M&O. So that's, still Fund 001. But that does have some separate requirements that we need to send an application, or what is not really we have to send our literacy plan, that's the word I'm looking for, to the state, to ADE, or else we don't get that money. So there's timelines throughout the year that we have to do to follow and make sure that we are able to have 100% of that K-3 reading money. So, there's always ongoing activities and management that business services and and the superintendent's leadership team, we do to make sure that we stay where we should be with all of our compliance efforts. So that's just kind of just a little bit of additional information I'd like to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Farrar. Do we have any questions from our governing board? I think we lost Ms. Hernandez. And I
don't see her on anymore.
think she would have been the one that had the questions. Oh, okay. Mr. Molino is working with her at the moment. I suppose we could always come back to this item if she has questions, or maybe we can just give her another minute to be respectful of her as a board member.
President Hernandez,
Yes.
members of the governing board, executive leadership team, thank you all for being here today. I did want to give a shout out to Victoria and Gary. They have spent a lot of time, as you can see, this is a real robust budget. It doesn't go as far as we want it to. And we have so many, we have such vision and goals for our scholars and our families that we just really appreciate all they're doing when it comes to creating this budget and helping all of the schools and the leaders to get through the school year with it. And again, just like Victoria echoed, we feel very strongly about our school district and what we can offer our scholars and our families. And we look forward to having more and more scholars attend our schools. And I believe I see Miss Lydia Hernandez back on. I hope that's the case. Thank you.
Ms. Hernandez?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Did you have questions that you wanted to ask about the budget? Ms. Hernandez?
Yes.
Okay.
You can't hear me?
I can hear you now.
Well, what I was stating is that I was not able to listen to the presentation. It cut off when you began. I wasn't able to listen to Dr. Lawler's comments. I could see the video, but I could not hear it on the phone. But we can go on.
Okay, if you do end up having any questions, I'm sure Dr. Lawler or Ms. Farrar would be happy to answer them and provide additional information at a later time if you'd like.
Thank
Seeing-
you. Not having heard the presentation. it's a critical, important meeting. Just not happy about the issues with my participation, but we'll move forward.
Yeah, I apologize, Ms. Hernandez. It is a little difficult to do this via the Zoom platform. But if you do have any questions or you want Ms. Farrar to go over the presentation with you at a later time, I'm sure she'd be happy to do so. All right, seeing no
Thank
other
you.
questions, of course. Seeing no other questions, we will go ahead and move on to our item 5. Call for public comments to allow questions or comments from the public concerning the proposed 2021-2022 Truth in Taxation and Annual Expenditure Budget.
There are no callers online, President Hernandez holding, but you do have one call to the public via email.
Thank you. Sorry, just pulling it up on my telephone. Okay. So for this meeting, all public comments pertaining to the public hearing for the proposed 2021-2022 Truth in Taxation and Annual Expenditure Budget will be accepted in written form and telephonically. A 3-minute time limit is set, and all are asked to adhere to this limit. The governing board may direct staff to study matters raised by the public or to reschedule those matters for future consideration, discussion, and possible action at a later date. Time allotments are for each individual comment and may not be transferred. In order to maintain the 30-minute allotted time, I will highlight as many written public comments as possible. Written public comments were due by 4 p.m. on Wednesday, July 14th, 2021. Individuals who participate telephonically will be answered in the order received. And we do not have anyone on the line telephonically, but we do have one person who submitted an email. All right. So the email is from Lisa Cisneros. At the last board meeting, Ms. Abathia stated that she is in support of the 4-day model because she has not seen much data or research on this topic. That should not be a reason to not support the model, not to blindly adopt it. I did gather the research I am aware of and sent it to all board members after the last meeting and have yet to receive a response from anyone. However, Ms. Abathia is correct. There is not a lot of data demonstrating negative or positive effects. The data that does exist is based on school communities with a pretty different makeup than Cartwright, rural and not densely populated. The lack of data on the topic is a strong signifier that you need much more input from the community before making this decision. 2 public hearings where only 1 comment was made hardly seems like best practice when it comes to getting stakeholder input. In 2015, Peoria Unified School District Board proposed and rejected a 4-day week, citing survey results showing 52% of parents did not favor changing the school week next year. About 40% said they would take their students out of the district if Peoria Unified School District made the switch. It references an attachment to the GlendaleStar.com news article regarding that situation. Cartwright has not surveyed families on making this a permanent decision. A survey was given during the COVID-19 pandemic where the 4-day week was portrayed as a temporary measure to address health concerns. And if that survey completion rate was similar to the public hearing participation rate in this district, I doubt that you have obtained a broad and representative sample of all families' views. One question I, as a community member, have for the board: why are parents being charged for Friday childcare at a separate facility when the school district is fully funded to provide 5 days of education per week using their own school facilities and staff? Finally, in regards to Ms. Lydia Hernandez's response to concerns over a lack of public engagement, it really is pretty simple. The board and district could start by at least posting the date, time, topic of public hearings and meetings on their Facebook. You could also do a robocall to CESD families providing the same information. The public is not going to be able to review board meeting agendas when they are unaware these meetings even exist. I am sure the Public Relations Department can also provide other ideas. Lisa Cisneros. That concludes our public hearing. There was only one public comment. And since the public comment was not an item that was not regarding necessarily an item that's on the agenda, we are unable to respond to it at this meeting, but can potentially respond to some of this at a future meeting when the item is properly agendized. Okay, so moving on to action item, sorry, thank you, Mrs. Narrows, for your feedback. Moving on to item D, which is our action items. We have our item 1 is approval to adopt the 2021-2022 annual expenditure budget and 2021-2022 tax levy. So I'd like to make a motion for approval to adopt the 2021-22 annual expenditure budget and 2021-22 tax levy at the Cartwright Elementary School District Public Hearing Special Governing Board meeting of July 14th, 2021. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. So we do have a motion made by myself, Ms. Hernandez, and a second by Governing Board Member Pedro Lopez. We will do a roll call vote. Governing Board Vice President Garcia, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Governing Board Member Abetia, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Abetia. Governing Board Member Lopez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Member Ms. Lydia Hernandez, how do you vote? I think you're on mute, Ms. Hernandez.
Did that work?
Yes. How did you vote?
This is interesting because I am, you're not able to hear me when, via Zoom. But so I went ahead and just muted the Zoom meeting and you can't hear me. But I have to be, I have two controllers here, my cell phone to speak. What I was about to say is that, Madam President, fellow board members, this is extremely frustrating for such an important topic. And I know we've discussed the expenditures in the past. We've discussed the decline in student enrollment. And I did review the presentation. I'm inclined to vote nay out of just not being able to participate at this meeting, even though we've discussed portions, of this. It's just too big of an animal, honestly, to just quickly take this vote on it. So my vote for the budget would be nay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hernandez. Board members are provided the documents. I mean, I do apologize because we're having some issues, and yes, there is a slight delay in when you speak to when we can actually hear it, but we are provided documents about 6-7 days ahead of time, and the ability to meet with or talk to the staff and superintendent to ask any questions ahead of time. But I do apologize because we are having some issues with our technology today.
And Madam President, Madam President, before moving forward, just what's frustrating here is not necessarily the questions or not necessarily being able to have reviewed the documents, because we're able to do that, and I have. But it limits the participation of board members to be able to discuss. We are a governing board, so the interaction between us, and this can only happen on this item at a public meeting, that's what's frustrating to me. And I'm sorry, it's just frustrating. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hernandez. Governing Board Member Lopez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Governing Board Member Abetia, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Abetia. Vice President Garcia, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia.
You're on mute, Ms. Hernandez.
Thank you. Sorry, there's even a delay in when I push the button. I vote aye as well, and the motion carries. Thank you, everyone, for your participation on this budget item and our tax levy. Okay. And for your patience during this meeting, because this is maybe not the way we prefer to do it, but this is how we're doing it today. So we'll try to make the best of it. Okay.
President Hernandez, members of the Governing Board Executive Leadership Team, I do want to thank you for holding this special meeting because it was, if Victoria can share, it was not the fault of the Cartwright School District that we had to add a special meeting. It was because of the budget not being approved with the legislature. And we certainly, trying to get through the pandemic, the Zoom meetings, we certainly prefer a scheduled meeting in person. And so I would also like to publicly apologize if anyone feels as this was not done appropriately, but we did have to meet the deadline of tomorrow to submit. And again, if I'm incorrect in some of that, Gary and Victoria can share with me, but we couldn't do it in a regularly scheduled meeting because we were not, we weren't given the budget from the state legislature. It was not approved. So I do thank all of you for understanding as to why we're here today. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Aguilar-Lawler, because they didn't, what is it called, Synodi until July 1st, June 30th, which makes it effective July 1st. So typically we don't have any meetings in July, which is why we thought the Zoom platform would be a good idea for everyone to be able to attend. Thank you. Okay, so moving on to our item E, consent agenda. Dr. Aguilar-Lawler.
Thank you, Board President, members of the Governing Board, Executive Leadership Team. The administration recommends the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Dr. Aguilar-Lawler. I'd like to make a motion for approval of our consent agenda as presented at the Cartwright Elementary School District Governing Board Public Hearing, Special Governing Board Meeting of July 14th, 2021. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. So we do have a motion made by myself, Marissa Hernandez, and a second by Vice President Denise Garcia. We will do a roll call vote. Governing Board Member, Mr. Lopez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Governing Board Member Abathia, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Abathia. Governing Board Member Hernandez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Hernandez. And I vote aye as well, and the motion carries. Thank you, everyone.
I
We
didn't
have
vote.
an approved agenda.
Madam President, I think
Yes.
I need to submit my vote.
Oh, I apologize, Vice President. In my mind, I asked you, so I apologize. Vice President Garcia, how do you vote?
I vote aye. Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize. Thank you. So we do have an approved consent agenda. Thank you, Ms. Garcia. You got to roll with the punches. I apologize.
Madam President, members of the Governing Board, I just wanted to officially congratulate Mrs. Lisa Jacobson, who is our new classified administrator of 21st Century Technology, Textbook, and Media Centers. Congratulations. Yay.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I do have a couple additional comments. For the Governing Board and staff, the Cartwright Conference will be in person this year at the Training Center for District Office staff and Educational Services staff from the Annex. For those who work at or work from the Annex, not in Ed Services, they will attend the conference at the Annex. All other staff will attend from their school sites. The conference will be on Thursday, July 29th, and more information will be coming soon, including the agenda and schedules for the day. Governing board members, you are invited to this event at the training center. The conference begins at 8 o'clock. We are very excited that our guest speaker is Mr. Brad Snyder, the Executive Director of the Dion Initiative for Child Well-Being and Bullying Prevention. Very excited. And one more thing, since I have the floor, I just want to say, go Suns. Beat the Bucks tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Aguilar-Luller. I am sure that that will happen simply because you willed it. Moving on to item F for other information and discussion items. Item 1 is our mitigation update. Dr. Medrano?
Yes, good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Lawler, executive team members, and our viewing audience. Just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to present our updated mitigation strategies in preparation for our scholars, teachers, and staff returning to our campuses here in very short order. And so just a little bit of background information as we go into what our updated mitigation strategies will be. Our community continues to be in the high transmission category in terms of our cases per 100,000 people, and also our percent positivity rates. And the Delta variant is a variant that continues to grow in prominence, and new cases are primarily being connected to that. So in preparation, we have updated our mitigation strategies, also keeping in mind and considering recent legislation and orders from Governor Ducey that have forbidden us from being able to require mask wearing on our campuses. But despite that, we will continue within those parameters to follow CDC guidance to the fullest extent possible. And some of those, the primary mitigation strategies will be that we will continue to highly recommend that masks are worn, in particular indoors. When it comes to outdoor activities, recess, lunch, outdoor extracurricular activities and sports, it won't be necessary, but indoors we will continue to highly recommend that masks are worn. We will also continue to the best of our ability to promote and ensure that physical social distancing is being observed when possible. In addition to that, several of our projects continue forward in improving the air quality in our classrooms. So the bipolar ionization is at a high completion rate right now. It's making good progress across our district. So we're improving our campus ventilation. Our teachers and staff will continue to promote good hygiene in terms of hand washing and sanitizing regularly throughout the day, so that we're keeping the most hygienic learning environment possible. We'll continue to encourage and make sure that our students, teachers, and staff are staying home when they are experiencing symptoms related to COVID, so that we're keeping a safe environment. And we also have trained nurses that are able to administer rapid testing as necessary, as another form of mitigation strategy. We will continue as well with our facilities to do daily cleanings, and our Friday Extended Learning Opportunity Day, we will continue to do deep cleanings on those days. Some additional strategies are another mitigation strategy that was mentioned at a prior board meeting and that we have followed up on is bringing in pooled testing into our district as another form of mitigation, of being able to test pools of students in classrooms and be able to have within a 24-hour turnaround, know if we have any cases within a classroom that we would need to follow up on. So those are our primary strategies that we are going to be implementing. We'll have plenty of hand sanitizer in the classroom that is available. We also recognize that we have some students for whom mask wearing might not be appropriate. So in those instances, we do strongly encourage our parents to contact the school principal to be able to make accommodations so that all of our students are in the most appropriate learning environment. Those are and additionally, we will continue to monitor our community metrics that have been being shared. So what our cases per 100,000 look like, what our percent positivity rates are, as well as what our vaccination uptake rates are across the zip codes that we serve, just to see what the trends are looking like there as another mitigation strategy. So with that, I would like to go ahead and just provide the opportunity for anybody to ask any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Dr. Medrano. Governing Board, do you have any questions? All right, fellow Governing Board members, Dr. Aguilar-Lawler, executive team, everyone who is participating via Zoom, and all of our public who are watching us on YouTube. Dr. Medrano, so we'll be moving from our mandate of masking just to the a high recommendation. So if students do not wear a mask, that's okay.
Yes, we're in light of the orders from our governor and from the legislation from our state. We're not able to require it, but we will continue to promote and strongly encourage that they are worn, in particular in indoor settings.
Okay. I like what Dr. Aguilar-Lawler said previously, which was will be a mask-friendly environment, which is definitely useful and gives our scholars and families options and a choice. Awesome. Thank you, Dr.
Yes.
Medrano.
No problem, President Hernandez. And you did remind me of one thing in your mention of choice. So our parents do have choice as well. If they're uncomfortable in any way in light of the recent legislation, that the laws that have been passed and orders that have been put forth to forbid the requirement of mask wearing, our parents can also reach out to get more information about our virtual academy if that's an option that they wanted to explore as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Medrano. I appreciate you mentioning that in our public session as a reminder for our parents. Thank you.
May I say something, Madam President?
Of course, Ms. Garcia, go right ahead.
Thank you, Madam President, Dr. Aguilar-Lawler, Dr. Medrano, pardon me, all those in attendance, executive team. Dr. Medrano, thank you. That presentation was greatly appreciated. And as a community member and speaking on behalf of our community, we thank you. The information is valuable, and just being a friendly mask-wearing community and district and having the choice, it matters. It truly does. So once again, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Do any other governing board members have any questions? All right, hearing none. Thank you, Dr. Medrano, for the update.
Thank you, Ms. Hernandez.
And with that, we will move on to item 3, which is our request. I'm sorry, item 2. Let me just back it up. Item 2, which is our board update. This evening, Mr. Lopez, will you start us off this evening?
Yes, thank you, Madam President, Dr. Aguilar-Lawler, fellow board members, executive team, and those in the audience. Thank you again, Dr. Aguilar-Lawler, for putting together this meeting via Zoom. I know we had Zoom for like a year, but going back to in person, it feels weird to go back to a computer, but I know it's just for one time. I had the opportunity to attend the CAPSI conference, the California Association of Black Educators. They had leaders of education, school board members, and administrators from all across the country in Palm Springs. We were there, great conference about equity and opportunities for our students, specifically those students of color. And I did took notes. I do want to put together an email to share with the administration and all of the board members and some of the tools. Just a quick highlight from that. I'll be brief. I shared with Dr. Lawler today earlier via phone that during the conference, they acknowledged our district for being the first district to acquire a full electric school bus, being the first one in the state. They also recognize us for tackling mental health in our community in different ways, thinking outside the box. They did acknowledge our district as being one of those districts that is not afraid to lead and is not afraid to be the first district to do something across the state. So they asked, how do we do it? And I told them, you know, it starts with having a superintendent and a team put together by the superintendent and a governing board that is willing to do the hard thing for our community. So that was my biggest highlight. I was definitely not expecting to be for us as a district to be recognized on the floor, but nevertheless, a great opportunity to elevate us. I do look forward to seeing all of you on the next board meeting on August once we return back to school. And if there's anything we can do, always feel free to reach out to us via email or phone. Thank you, and that will conclude my update.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Ms. Lydia Hernandez? Ms. Hernandez, are you there? Oh, she just got cut off. Okay, we will come back to Ms. Hernandez when she's able to get back on. Let's see. We can always come back to Ms. Hernandez. Governing Board Member Abathia, would you mind doing your update?
Yes, thank you, Madam President.
Thank you.
You guys can hear me? Okay. Thank you, Madam President, Dr. Aguilar-Lawler, executive team, and those here in attendance and via Zoom. I just wanted to thank our team for putting on this presentation for us. You know, I don't understand numbers and budgets and all of that, but I appreciate the information that's given to us so we can continue to work hard with our district. I also just wanted to congratulate all of our new people and new positions. I see a lot of new faces, and well, not new faces, but you know, new faces on our Zoom, which is different. So I just wanted to congratulate everybody in their new positions and welcome you guys with open arms. And yeah, that's pretty much all my update. Very short one today. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Abathia. For the record, Ms. Lydia Hernandez disconnected at 5:56 p.m. She is no longer on the meeting. If she comes back, we will re-announce. We'll announce when she makes it back in. All right. Vice President Garcia, do you mind doing your update now?
Yes.
Or would you grace us with an update, ma'am?
I try. Good evening, everyone. Madam President, Dr. Aguilar-Lawler, fellow board members, all those in attendance, including YouTube. Thank you for being here this evening. I would like to piggyback on Ms. Abathia. We are grateful for all of the accomplishments that have come about. And all of those who are new to Cartwright, we welcome you with open arms. Dr. Medrano, thank you again. You were amazing. And as usual, never a disappointment, always rising to the occasion. as well as everyone else, all the previous presentations. Once again, thank you. The budget is so extremely important, and we do recognize that it requires a lot of work, a lot of overtime work, and then some more work. And I don't have any further updates, so this will conclude my input. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. All right, I get to follow all of those amazing updates from everyone. So of course, welcome everyone. We are always happy to have new faces, or anytime anyone is able to promote within our district or just transfer into new positions to learn and grow and face new challenges, just like we do as board members on a continuous basis. So I just want to say thank you to everyone. Thank you to our financial services for all of the hard work that's been put in with our budget this year. I know it's a very different process. We normally have an approved budget before the end of our fiscal year, and this one just took a really long time, which then caused us to have a lot of extra meetings, which is okay because I love to see all of you. I also want to say thank you to Dr. Medrano for the incredible update this evening as I want to say it's your first mitigation update in your new position as our leader over our buildings and operations. So yay, excellent job today. And you even were able to remind our parents through your update for buildings and operations about our digital academy, which is really important for parents who aren't quite ready to have their students back in school just yet physically, but would still like the virtual option. Excited for our Cartwright conference. It'll be a little bit different this year, doing it with district staff in the training room and then everyone else participating at their locations. But guess what, guys? We have learned how to do things and be resilient over the last year and plus months. And so this meeting is a great representation of that. Even though some of us have to read off of our phones, the various items that we need to present on this evening, we're still able to do it. And so for that, I say thank you, because I know that all of you are faced with challenges on a daily basis as well. So thank you for rising to the occasion and being readily available to put on a smile and still be successful through all of the challenges and difficulties that we face. I wanted to say one other thing. Thank you to our parents who provide us feedback, whether it be through call to the publics or contact at the district office, or even for participating on our parent advisory council, or being a liaison at the schools, or just being one of the parents that's very connected and open at their school site. So I just want to thank our parents. We do need your feedback in order to be successful. And when you're honest with us, we are able to accept the compliments, learn from the criticisms or the comments that are made or feedback. We're able to then reevaluate and make some changes and modify things for the betterment of our families, our scholars, and our community. And so I just want to say thank you, because our parents put in a lot of hours, and that's definitely appreciated. Everyone, I hope that you are able to get some kind of fun and relaxation in the summer. I know that we have asked a lot of you, and we appreciate all of your diligent work and for representing us so well in your various departments. You are all very stellar, and we appreciate it. With that, I think I can conclude my update. I'm looking forward to the new school year, and I'll conclude my update. Thank you, everyone. And then we'll move on to, sorry, I did get all board members. Lydia's off the phone. Okay. If I don't go in the seating order, I forget about somebody, so I apologize. Moving on to item 3, which is our request for future agenda items as information discussion at a future meeting. Governing board members, do you have any requests? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to item G, which is our announcement of future meeting date and other routine information concerning the governing board. The next regular governing board meeting will be held on Thursday, August 12th, 2021 at 5 o'clock at the Cartwright School District Boardroom. We will be back in the boardroom for the next meeting, the first meeting of the school year. Can you believe it? We're almost already there. Item H is our adjournment. I'd like to make a motion for adjournment of the special meeting of the Cartwright Elementary School District Governing Board. Public hearing, special governing board meeting of Wednesday, July 14th, 2021. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. We do have a motion made by myself, a second by governing board member Lopez, and we will do a roll call vote. Governing board member Lopez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Governing board member Abathia, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Abathia. Governing board vice president, Ms. Garcia, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. I vote aye as well, and the motion carries unanimously. Let the record reflect that the meeting is adjourned at 6:04 p.m. This has got to be a record. Thank you, everyone, for your participation this evening, for having a meeting, joining us for this meeting in July, which is not standard. And I appreciate everyone who has joined us this evening and has provided information or items for the meeting this evening. Thank you very much. And everyone, please be safe. Have a fabulous evening, and we will see you in August.